Nature is trying to tell you something, and there's a pretty good chance you've been ignoring it. Not because you're disconnected, but because modern life has trained you to stop listening. If you're like most people this time of year, your body is probably sending some quieter but persistent signals. You might be feeling unusually tired, more frustrated easily, headaches that come and go, possibly body aches and pains, especially in your joints that have no cause for being there. And if you're a sensitive body, one that picks up on shifts, patterns, and changes before there's even language for it, these signals are probably louder. For years, I've been studying what happens to a sensitive system when the natural world begins to shift. Seasons change, light changes, animal behaviors change, subtle biological cues that most people have been conditioned to override. Across history, across cultures, across wisdom traditions that existed long before we had instruments to measure everything, this pattern is the same. You're not imagining what you're feeling. You're responding to signals your body was designed to notice. In this episode, I want to show you how the natural world communicates with sensitive bodies, why signs show up from animals, seasons, and ancient celebrations, and how to work with these messages instead of dismissing them as a coincidence or dysfunction. We'll explore what ancient cultures understood, what modern science can measure and where it falls short, and why sensitive bodies often feel shut down or depleted right before a major internal shift. Before we go any further, let me introduce myself. Hi, I'm Amanda Smith, former aerospace engineer that worked on NASA projects and programs like Artemis. Go Artemis 2! You should be launching soon. For most of my life, I've been studying what happens in the space where science gets quiet and the body starts speaking in symbols. I work with sensitive, high-performing, deeply intuitive people, often the ones who don't even realize how intuitive they are yet. The ones who feel seasonal shifts in their body, who sense emotional undercurrents before there's language for them, who've been told they're too much for a world that forgot how to listen. My background bridges structured systems, like an engineer thinks, and subtle ones. Science, somatics, nervous system work, and ancient wisdom traditions. The ones that paid attention to the body and the land long before they tried to dominate them. And here's what I've noticed again and again. Sensitive bodies don't break when nature changes. They respond. But modern culture teaches us to override the very signals that were meant to guide us. The natural world has always spoken to humans through signs. Animals that appear at unexpected moments, plants that bloom earlier or later than expected, weather patterns that don't just affect the environment, they affect you. There's an entire scientific field devoted to this called phenology, something I started studying when I was doing permaculture back in 2015, 2016. It's the study of seasonal biological events. When birds migrate, when flowers bloom, when insects emerge, when trees begin to bud. But long before it had a scientific name, humans tracked these changes for survival, for healing, and for meaning. When certain animals appeared, it meant it was time to plant. When others disappeared, it meant it was time to rest. When behavior shifted in the animal world, humans adjusted their own rhythms accordingly. Nature wasn't background noise. It was the calendar, the compass, the nervous system regulator. Animals in particular have always been messengers. Across cultures, unexpected animal encounters or animal births were never dismissed as random. A hawk circling repeatedly, a bison born as a white bison, a deer holding your gaze, a snake crossing your path, a white horse in a pasture where there are no other horses, a spider appearing during a moment of decision. Not because animals are mystical in a cartoon sense, but because they respond to environmental shifts before humans consciously register them. Sensitive people tend to notice these encounters more because your nervous system's already tuned to pattern recognition. You're not assigning meaning arbitrarily. You're sensing a change in the field. This is also where we need to talk about seasonal affective disorder, often called SAD, SAD, or SADD. For many sensitive bodies, this diagnosis shows up in winter or during prolonged periods of low light. And I want to say this very clearly. This does not mean something is wrong with you. Sensitive nervous systems are more responsive to change in light. Less daylight affects serotonin, melatonin, circadian rhythms, inflammation. So when the world grows dark, you feel it sooner and deeper. What modern language calls a disorder, ancient culture understood as biological wintering. The problem isn't that sensitive bodies shut down. The problem is that we've expected to function as if nothing in nature has changed. This is exactly why cultural markers like Imbolc exist. Also Groundhog's Day. Let's talk about Imbolc. This is celebrated around February 1st or 2nd. This year it was January 31st and February 1st. And it marks the subtle return of light. Not spring, not full energy, but direction. Historically, this has been when sheep begin to lactate, when the earth softened just enough to feel it, when light increased not dramatically, but consistently. We're going into the light. Imbolc was never about forcing growth. It was about recognizing that the system was beginning to turn toward life again. After deep shutdown, especially the kind of sensitive bodies experience, what the nervous system needs most is not pressure. It needs orientation. Here's what science and ancient wisdom actually agree on. Light regulates mood. Light regulates hormones. Light regulates inflammation. And sensitive bodies, especially those with highly responsive nervous systems, track these shifts with incredible accuracy. When light begins to return, even subtly, the body starts to thaw before the mind realizes it and believes it. That's why frustration, joint pain, headaches, and fatigue often show up right before energy begins to move again. It's not failure, it's transition. Sensitive bodies feel this amplified. That's not weakness, that's attunement. Across cultures, the message is the same. Darkness is not the enemy. Darkness is where recalibration happens, where information integrates, where the next version of you is forming quietly. Nature doesn't rush this process, and neither should you. So let's do a simple somatic practice to help tune in. I call this the nature signal reset. So if you're driving, don't shut your eyes, don't take your hands off the wheel. If you're at home listening to this, we're going to go outside, maybe just for a second. But I want you to go there so that you can notice nature. Notice the temperature, the quiet or not quiet, the quality of light. Just take it in. Nice. Now, place one hand on your heart and one on your belly and feel the breath move through the chest into the belly on the inhale, and feel the belly drop subtly and the chest drop subtly on the exhale. Taking 3 of these big, deep, belly-moving breaths, letting your body arrive before your mind does. Now quietly ask yourself, what's nature showing me right now? Don't force an answer. Just notice sensations, images that pop into your mind, maybe a memory, an animal that crosses your path right now, or a simple word. Trust the first thing that arrives. Now, head back inside. Grab a piece of paper and a pen. Write down what you noticed, and then answer this question. What shift is asking to be honored in me? In this episode, hopefully something subtle in your body has shifted. Trust that. You're not overreacting. You're not broken. You're not too sensitive. You're tuned into the same rhythms humans built their lives around for thousands of years. Nature is always speaking. The question isn't whether the signals are real, it's whether you're willing to listen. Until next time, slow down. We're still in the slowdown phase of winter. Watch closely. Things are shifting. And trust your sensitive body.